and welcome to Add More Zest. My name's Rebecca, also known as 4Kids at 147. And now, today is the day I am going to find out if I have a chance of getting my round diamonds into 2 boxes and my square diamonds into 2 boxes. Cross fingers, because I do see some great benefits to be able to do it this way. However, I do also recognise that if I do split it, it means extra cardstock, extra stickers, which do in turn take up more space. So what I'm going to do to test, I have already prepared a new box with all the foam. But what I want to do is take out all the square diamonds so that I am left with round for each and every DMC number. And there's some quite full bags coming out here. Not all of them, but some of them are. And see whether I can get the 3 boxes that I currently have squoze down into 2. So as I'm pulling out the squares, I am propping them in an Amazon box in number order so that it should be easier to put them all away again when I, in effect, create my squares boxes and do all my cardstock and my labelling up and everything that comes alongside that. Oh, got static with that bag. Wanted to stay attached to my fingers. But I need to get the 3 boxes I've got comfortably into 2 boxes so that I have the room, for my rounds and my squares to grow a bit more before I need to do another potential assessment. I've already made it so that my squares and rounds, I have a maximum of 1 full bag of each. That's not bad for the hundreds, that's gone down quite a bit. So 200s, and I'm having to go through each and every one. I know I do have a bag for squares, whether it has diamonds in or not, for every single number. So I'm going through every number, trying not to let them all fall down, because that can just make even more mess. And I'm stacking them in this Amazon box as I go. So 300s. And all my square ones I do keep to the back. So I've always kept it round in the front, square in the back, which is why I'm not particularly looking. I do occasionally just have a check. If I find that, I've picked up a round bag instead of a square bag, I'll establish that when I'm making my boxes for my squares, because that will take longer. Because that will take longer, I've got more time to be checking everything when I do that. Now, I do need to move some over into this next column. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going with the 300s, taking out the bags first before moving over all the rounds. I just feel as though it'll become a nice stopping point when I hit the foam piece for 400 to do any shuffling. Gives me a little bit of room for these to tip. For these to be able to tip over without actually making a lot more mess. Trying to make sure all my squares stand up as well. I need to neaten those up. So pull out each square bag for each number until we get to 400. And then we've got to a suitable stopping point to have a bit of a tidy up and a move over and a rejig. Okay, 371, 372. Okay, so that's all the squares. So can I get that to fit in there? And all the squares sort of stand up. I can. So now I'm going to move these over in batches, so hopefully I don't lose them all. So that's some of the 300s. Okay, so all the 300s are in there. That's got a nice little bit of room as well. So 400s. Is it worth trying to move these up? I think it is for the purposes of getting the bags out. So 400, 402, 407, order 400s. So there's quite a few that we end up with 2 big bags, one for round and one for square. Which is where I think, you know, all these bags have come out, so these are all making space. It's just whether it will be enough space to get them down to 2 boxes. Right, what did I pull out then? 415. So 420. I might have to start moving the bags over singly again because everything's falling on top of me. 422. 433. 434. 435. And I've got bags falling down in here. But normally, if I had known, you know, I mean, I still don't know, but if I had pre-warning that I would definitely, with the spares that I have, be able to fit round in one box and square in another box, then I would do this process little bit by little bit. So what I do is I have my 4th box. It has my foam inserts in. So what I would be doing is I would start making my DMC cards for my squares, and I would move these bags straight into the first box, bit by bit, and hopefully, you know, I would be able to do that move over and some of that shuffle and not have bags that aren't in a photo box for too long. So I could end up with, you know, them not having to be in here, or if they did, not many of them being in here. So I have one empty here. Now, part of me did think, oh, I'll move these into here. But then my fear is when it comes to doing the DMC, that it could end up being a bit of a pain to move them out of here. And if I did find that they had to go back in, I would rather, if I found that I can't fit squares and rounds into 2 boxes each, and I just needed to keep them all together, but they'd need to go in a 4th box, then I wanted this box to be empty so I could move them, start moving them over. So I decided it wasn't wise to use that box for holding the squares at the moment, because I don't know if this is going to work, but I kind of do really want to know. So I'm still taking out just the squares bags for each, and this isn't even the worst box for being squoze. The worst box for diamonds being squeezed in is the next box, with the 700s to 900s. It's extremely squished. Right, 523, 524. Oh, put them back in order. So 535 is the last one I pulled out. Let's get them out of the way. 543. I knew that would be one that would stand up. 550. Always end up with a lot of 550. 562. 563, 564, 580, nearly at the end of the 500s, 581, 597, 598. Okay, so that's the 500s. So I'm going to move over my divider first. And at the moment, I'm still keeping these quite loose. I do still have room to move more over in the 300s if I need to. But I would like to be able to see if I can get away with as much room as possible. Or at least, you know, quite free movement before it's decided that, you know, how full it's gonna be before I know if square and rounds are gonna work. I kind of hope they do, in the point that I've taken all these bags out, and I would much rather put all these bags back behind nice shiny new dividers than have to put them all back pretty much exactly where they were, but scooted over a little bit. And then it will save me pulling out 4 boxes every time I de-kit. I will only have to pull out 2, because I will either be de-kitting a square or I will be de-kitting a round. And I think that will be a lot nicer to do. Now, I'm not sure if all the 600s are going to go over, but if I've got to the point by taking all these squares out that I have a full row left and they're nice and loose, then I should, in theory, be able to move the rest over and it still be nice. We'll have to see how loose this ends up being. Okay, come on. I've lost my divider. It slipped underneath because I've not got the diamonds there. Can't get hold of it. There we go. It's the 666. So I've ended up taking them all out because of that one divider. So let's put the squares down and just put the rounds back in. Okay, so that's still pretty loose for the 4 500s and 600s, and that's loose. So if I actually squoze that up as tight as it was before, I've got that much room in that side. And then if I did the same with this one, roughly the same, give or take. Let's put those in order. So that's not bad at all to have, you know, that nice amount of room. That gives me quite a few. It might not seem like a lot, but it actually is. By the time I've put diamonds in, you know, put extra diamonds in and de-kitted things, that should give me quite a bit more space. Now, I know I do have quite a few more squares than I do rounds, but I also have a lot of squares that are in my Heaven and Earth designs. So I think if I can still get these rounds and them all be as comfortable in 2 boxes, then I'll be happy to stick with that. Sorry, just drinking my brew as well. Okay, thirsty work this, you know. So let's move 700 over. And what I can always do, because these are all starting with numbers, the way they've moved over, I could get rid of this single piece of foam board here as well, because I've actually got what I needed I've got the gap that I need to be able to see what the number is. I'm doing this a little bit differently. I don't know if I like it as much though. I don't think I do. I was trying taking out the DMC card and the round rather than taking out the square bag, but that's because this is so full. I think a few more coming out and it'll be a little bit easier. So if I do about 4 and then move it over, and it should get easier as it goes along. So 1, maybe even 2. 2, 2. Depends how many diamonds are in it to how many I'll move over at once. Quite a few of those are empty bags. Three, 4. I think I have more squares in those than I do in rounds. I think I definitely have more square diamonds than I do rounds. And I do also have the foam pieces as well for the back of this box, because I actually took them out because the box was getting so full. I took them out a while ago to free up an extra little level of space, but I did keep hold of them in case I needed them again. So hopefully they can go back in and help these to stay upright. Yep. So 700s. I know there's at least one person that is thinking of also splitting their squares and rounds, but they're waiting to see if mine works, to see if there's a chance that theirs will work. So do let me know, do you keep your rounds and squares separate in separate boxes, or do you do what I've done in the past, which is put squares and rounds together under the DMC number? One benefit I do think to putting them in separate boxes is, of course, when I'm dekitting a square, I pick up the square box with the square bags in it, which means I'm not likely to pick up the wrong bag by accident and tip square diamonds into a bag meant for rounds, which can happen. But it is a bit of a pain if it does. But I can see the benefit of that, and the benefit of only getting 2 boxes out when I'm dekitting. Instead of, at the moment, it's 3 or 4 if it's squares because of the Heaven and Earth design. It will be much easier just getting 2 out, or 3 if I need to check the Heaven and Earth design diamonds. Though I'm filling up this Amazon box pretty well. It's getting pretty full already, but we do only have one more box to go after this one. As I say, this is the fullest, so I'm not sure how much space we're going to gain with this one. Oh, we've got another 700 here. Sneaked over because it obviously didn't fit. Okay, 800. Still got quite free room, so we can move over some 800s at least. I don't think we'll move over all of them, but we can at least move over some. It might be that the 800s have to split across 2 boxes. So across this box and this box. So I'm going to keep an eye on the numbers. See if I can get it to split at, you know, quite a nice place. And I can also use that when I do my squares as a judgment as to whether they're all going to fit by doing 2 boxes up to a certain number. Oh. These are starting to fall down a little bit now. I don't want it to give me the same aggro it did before. See if I can move them all forward a bit. Okay, 818, 819. Where are we at now? I pushed them all the way up. That's giving me quite a bit more than the last lot did. So let's not stop at 820. Let's see if we can get a few more in. Though the 820s, there's quite a few of. So 820. So 825, 826, 827, 828 and 829. Sort those out in a minute. Let's see if they'll fit. I think that's not going to give anywhere near as much room as last time. Gave a little bit, but not too much. So I might move some of those back. Some of these 800s back over just to give them a little bit more room, but we'll see how much room we end up with. So let's pop that one on the shelf for a minute as potentially being finished, and let's move the 800s over into this one and see how far we get with this and with the next box. And then we can always shuffle to and fro, depending on which box has more space, and try and find a nice even spot for it all. So 840s. And if this works and I end up creating a box for my spares, that's going to be the nice pretty storage creation. I'm not sure what colour labels to do yet either, because I do like my black and white. I do like my black and white labels, but I don't know whether to go for a colour to make my squares and my rounds a little bit different. Oh, 895, 898 and 899. So there's not too many more 800s, and they could potentially all fit in one box if I mess them about and squoze them up. But I'm trying not to squeeze them. I do need to put these foam pieces back in the backs, because they do help give more room in a bit, but this is the one row that I've had real trouble with. So I'm going to start moving these over a little bit on their own, just to give me that little bit of wiggle room. I just want that. You can hardly move in here, in this side of the box, because there's just so many diamonds crammed in here, and that's why all the baggies are all standing upright. All the bags are peeking over the top of the labels. They haven't been able to sort of squash themselves down a bit, just due to being not enough room, because this box has been jam-packed. Even the fact that I'm pulling some out now that are baggies without diamonds. As we get further on in the 900s, there are so many diamonds in there, and so many that I've been adding recently, that the rest of them just don't want to sit nice anymore. because there's just not enough room. So it'll be really nice to have them tidy. They're actually the rounds. Give me the squares. So ideally, all these 900s will fit in this one column. And if they do, then that means the other 3 columns should quite nicely fit in the remaining 2 columns. If we go by the last box, so the last box we got 1 free. If we get 2 free in here, then we should be able to move the other 3 over. It's looking promising for being able to do squares and rounds separate. The only reason I'm hesitant to confirm yet is this box, because it's so full. The box of 3000s isn't as full, so I think that's going to give us a little bit more leeway. Let's try actually taking out the label with it. Again there. Okay. Can we get you all to behave a bit more now? There we go. See, all the bags have now gone down. Below the labels, because there's finally enough room in the box for it to breathe. And that's all that it's been waiting for, is the room to breathe. And it's finally got it. So now just keep moving over the rounds that are at the front and taking out the square bags and see how far across we can get. Okay, you're annoying me now. Move out of the way. You can go back in afterwards. So 938 and 939 are very full round bags. 945 is not too bad, but it's very full in squares. I don't think I'm even going to fit all my squares in my Amazon box. I'll have to find somewhere else to put the rest. I might leave them in the box they come out of, actually. No, wrong way. That way. You'd think I'd have got used to doing this now by nearly finishing 2 boxes, but obviously not. I haven't got myself in a proper rhythm. That, or it's because I'm chatting, I keep mucking things up. But only a few more to go. Will they all fit? Quick check that I haven't picked up any round diamonds, just in case. Because I'm just grabbing the bag from behind, so as long as I've always put the squares bag behind the rounds bag, I should be fine. It's just whether that's always happened or not. Because sometimes these things don't. Okay, we've got a few here that have got no diamonds. Let's get those. Last few squares in this box. Oh, 955 and 996. They're always big ones, aren't they? Okay, so if I put those in there, and then if I squeeze them all the way up, that's quite a nice amount for movement to allow me to get the bags in, get the bags out, put more diamonds in. Let's put those edges back in now, both of them, and get the final box, the 3000s. So we'll move over the 3000 and let's see how these go now. These should all fit in 2 rows. All the other boxes have gone from being 3 rows to 2 rows. So technically, these should all move over. But I'm not counting my chickens fully before they've hatched. Okay. Trying to see if I can move them over more. I want to get as many diamonds in the Amazon box as I can, just because it'll be nicer when I'm tidying everything up. In my next spare storage, which by the looks of it, I will actually be labelling up some DMC cards and creating myself a whole new set of storage boxes. I'm going to have to actually cut more foam. I might have to pick up some more foam pieces because I need to make myself the little inserts with the numbers as well, because they're really useful when I am dekitting. They're really handy to know where it is I need to be. Though I do have some black foam board and I can still coat them with a white sticker. So I might just use the black foam board. I'll have to see if I go where I pick up the foam board from, because I do use foam board quite a bit actually. I keep tending to find projects for it, so it is handy to have in, and I wouldn't want it all to run out on me and me use it all up. But I do need quite a few of the inserts, and I don't think I'll be able to cut them all out of one A4 sheet, which is all I've got left. So I might have to try and make a trip to the range before I do my next spare storage video and sort out. Which in theory should be perfectly easy to do. In practice, we will see. Okay, that's the 3,000s. I'm tucking some down the side in that box now. 3 6s, there's definitely not many of these. There's not many of these at all. There's only about 7 different numbers in the 3 600s. And I don't have all of them. I have a few, but not all. So that's the 3 600s. 3 7s. You should, oh, you may not all fit in, but should fit a fair few of you in. They do go into the next column as well. So 3 7s. See, am I going to get any more in there? Yeah. When I'll be putting the squares away, I will be putting a sticker on each DMC cardstock as well. So if they do end up getting a little bit mixed up or a little bit shuffled, it's not too bad, because I will need to look at each individual sticker anyway, because I'll be sticking it down. So I really don't mind if they do happen to get muddled up. Of course, it's ideal if they don't. But if they do, things happen. I'm going to start putting the rest of them in here now, because it's not worth me dragging in another Amazon box or a bigger one. I will just pop some in here, and then when I do my spare storage, I can always move them out as I free up the other stuff. Okay, 760. Still got loads of room for movement there. Not surprised, there's quite a few diamonds come out of that side in the squares. Oh, I was trying to get hold of the bag and it's folded over in my fingers. Okay, let's put them nicely, and then let's see if these all fit in. Are we needing to move yet? How far up are we? We'll get a couple more in there before it's squeeze time. Oh, we might get them all. Maybe, maybe not. Depends how many I have in rounds. Let's move the squares. There's only a few now that are in the 3/700s, which is why I'm wondering if I'll get all the 3/700s in this next row or not. Let's try and make the squares stay straight. And this is why the pieces of cardstock are good, because the bags can end up slouching down if they've not got the piece of cardstock to lean against and help them stand to attention. Okay, that's still a nice fit. So let's take out the rest and see if we can fit all the... No, wrong way. They go in there. Let's see if the rounds all fit. Not the most movement, but there is movement. So let's see how much room the 3/800s take, and if need be I'll scoot them back a little bit. But let's give ourselves the freedom while we move them over firstly. And then I might just scoot them back and move some of the 3/700s over. It's because I'm partly trying to keep the, the numbers together as much as possible. I don't like the fact that the 800s have split over 2 boxes. But I don't think I could do up to 700 in the first box and still fit all the 800s, along with the 900s and the 3000s in the second box, because there's just too many of them. A lot of the DMC numbers tend to be 800 and above in a lot of paintings, so I don't want to do that and find that this box suffers just so I don't have to split the 800s up. My brain will get used to where the 800s split eventually. And I've just thrown that one on the floor. Nearly on the floor. Good job it was empty. So let's move those over before I confuse my... Right, why has that got 2? I didn't move them over. At least I've known where to go looking if they were missing. Okay, so that's 3817. That's the square bag. Oh, I've put the square bags in here, haven't I? Put the square bags in there instead of moving them. I wondered how I managed to end up with a load of extra bags over there, because I stopped paying attention. I think I'm getting excited that this might actually work, because this is my ideal solution. If I'm going to 4 boxes, because I have so many spares, which is not surprising. 4 years of diamond painting, your spares do build up. But I've created the space on my bookcase for 4 boxes, and in an ideal world I want it to be 1 square, 1 round. Now I do recognise the squares box is probably not going to have as much room for movement as the rounds, because I do think I have more squares in spares than I do rounds. I think I do. So that is something that I do need to be aware of, that I might not have as much free movement in my squares. But I think for de-kitting purposes it will be a lot nicer to have them split. And hey, in a year or two I can always change them back, can't I? Give me another video to do when I change them back anyway. Right, there's quite a few diamonds in these ones. See, the 3800s are definitely being used by companies a lot more than they used to be. I'm sure we end up with a lot more of them in there than we used to. The beginning diamond paintings, I hardly ever had any that started with 3000, and now I get loads. I think maybe they've broadened, maybe the software's broadened the range of DMC numbers that they use. And it definitely takes a lot more colours into consideration now, I think. Okay, 3 8s. Nearly there. We're getting into the likes of the territory for the 3865, which we definitely know there's more of. Though I don't have my squares in this box because they are used in a Heaven and Earth Designs, so that will give me more space. So close, and my battery had enough on me. I was hoping to get to the end of the video before the battery went, but no. Oh, I think I'm going to have some space to spread those 3 7s over, looking at the 3 8s. And then I've got my B5 200, which I've got quite a few. Okay, so that is the squares to go with those, which will go in 2 boxes. So I've got one here with foam dividers, and it will go in this one as well. They will both get done in my next video. So I'll move all the squares in the next one because I need to label up some DMC cards. Say next one, maybe within the next 2. I'm not sure how many it'll take over. But the 3800s are taking up a lot less room, so I think I'm going to move some of the 3700s over. Where are we up to? Let's move up to 3760 first and see what that's like. Or maybe that's too many. Do we have a 3770? We do. Okay, let's move it that way. There we go. So we've got wiggle room on all sides for that. Now, what I may do, depending on if I get some more foam board, is I may create some more foam board sheets so that they stand up, you know, and have a little bit of wiggle room, but not too much. And I can actually take the foam out as they get fuller. I'm not sure. I'll see. I'm going to work with it because I do have Zesty Wolf to de-kit. So I'm going to de-kit Zesty Wolf, working with this rounds, the 2 set of rounds boxes, and see how it feels to de-kit. But it looks very nice. I know that much already. It looks nice and it feels as though it has a nice amount of movement. In fact, there's probably a bit more movement in this box than there is in this one. But I'm fine with that because I know the 900s and the 3000s are becoming more and more popular. So they do get used a lot. I've got the scope to scoot things over if I need to. I've got the scope to take out all these back pieces, even some of these front pieces. Not all of them, but I can take them out if they've got the bigger one. So I've got quite a lot of room to be able to move. So there we go. I have been able to fit my rounds into 2 boxes, and I will be, in a future video, fitting my squares into 2 boxes, not including my Heaven and Earth Design. And yeah, I should be all nice and organised for the new year, which I love. So now I need to make a decision on what colour DMC stickers I want. I'm still using the pink diamonds because I don't see the point in taking all my DMC numbers off. I use the blue ones for my AB diamonds. So I'm definitely going to keep those pink ones. I'm just not sure what I'm going to do with it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me while I took all my square diamonds out of my spare storage to see how it would work. But yes, rounds are done for the win. I will change my labels. Megan will love printing some new labels. I will change my labels to just say rounds instead, which will be a lot more universal as well. If I do ever in the future need to get a third box for rounds or a third box for squares, depending on what's happening. But yeah, 2 down, 2 to go. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all again soon.